my She Table Talk to the She Universe. I'm your host, Dr. Amystique Church, and I am super excited for our segment today. Yes, I know I always say that, ladies, but I am super excited. We have the wonderful, the awesome, the phenomenal Dr. Esther Graham. And you know, tonight's segment is about women of influence. How do we become a woman of influence? And here's the thing, my she sisters out there in she universe, we all are influencers. We all can influence the community that we live in, the sphere of our surroundings, and you can do it too. So how do you become that woman of influence? By deciding to take charge of your life. Again, you know, She Table Talk is about sisters empowering and helping each other to empower. And that's what we're about. So tonight is all about you. So, my sisters, we're going to get started so we can learn to become women of influence. Oh, Dr. Esther, thank you for joining us on She Table Talk, Sisters Helping to Empower. I am so excited to have you here tonight. You know, you're my shero. You're one of my sheroes, and I heart you so much. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, wow. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor. And I love She Universe, Sisters Empowering Sisters.
Yes, Sisters Helping to Empower. Yes,
Sisters helping to empower. I think that's
yes,
so phenomenal because, as you know, right, that my heart is for the sisters, right? My heart is because I think that when God created us, we were, fearfully and wonderfully made, of course, just like everybody else, but there's just something in us.
yes,
I think
yes,
that he just
yes.
gave that special extra to where we could stand in anything, we could do anything that we put our minds to do. And so I'm excited about tonight. Thank you so much. It's an honor and it is a privilege.
Oh, it's definitely all my honor, all my pleasure. So tonight is about women of influence, being a woman of influence, and I definitely think you're definitely that. When we think about today, March the 31st, the
Yeah,
last day of the Women's History Month,
yeah.
which you've been doing a lot in celebration of that. But let's talk about what that means to you, Women's History Month, and what does it mean for us to empower and encourage other women?
Yeah. I love Women's History Month because, many times when we think of Women's History Month, we often think of people who we know, like celebrities or, famous politicians. Like, I think I mentioned it the other day, people like Michelle Obama or RBJ or like, Liz Cheney or just, movie stars and all of those as women who have made history, and they have. And we are really on the backs of those women, with looking at everything that they're doing and what they've accomplished and the things that they've overcome. But I also look at Women's History Month as your sister that's next to you, the sister that's in front of you. I look at Women's History Month as my mother and maybe and your mother, that have also made history, that's spoken into us. And if anything, we've learned something from them as well. They themselves have created history. So Women's History Month is a time, I think, for us to reflect not just on the big things that have done by famous people, but by the small things that have been done in your home, in your community, in your city, those things that sometimes people don't remember or they don't see, but they've made history as well. And so Women's History Month is for everyone to celebrate. And part of that celebration is that I get to celebrate myself and you get to celebrate yourself because we too are making history. And someone is going to look back and say, ah, yes, I remember this. And this is the part of history to where I can look back and learn from that so I could continue to move forward.
That's great. That's good. Thank you so much, Dr. Esther. Well, I want to talk a little bit about. I know you've done a lot of work with Festa della Donna. First, I want you to tell people, for those that don't know, what Festa della Donna, your program, your sphere of it is. And if you want to give about the history of it, how you got engaged with the name and started wanting to build programs, please do that. But then, what are some of the things that you are doing now as we move forward in 2025? I say 2025 is the year of expansion. You
Yeah,
know, for me, it's the year of
yeah,
expansion.
yeah,
But as
yeah.
we move forward in 2025, what are you doing to help women move forward in their lives? So, what are some of the things you have going on? What talk about Festa della Donna and how do we move forward?
So, first, Festa della Donna, which is the Italian word for a celebration of women. At Festa della Donna is really International Women's Day in Italian. And so, how I came up with that, I lived in Italy for several years, and every March 8th, the Italian women would celebrate Festa della Donna. And they would go out to dinner, they would celebrate each other. Every restaurant they went into, the men would have little yellow mimosas, is what the flowers were called, given to them, and I just always thought it was just so great and so endearing, the young and the old, just celebrating each other. And that was something I absolutely loved. And so, really, that is the initial of how I started Festa della Donna. And I like the name because for me, it was about the celebration. It's about, International Women's Day that includes everyone, no matter what your belief system may be, no matter what your ethnicity may be, your culture may be, it's for everyone. And while it was also a day of advocacy, it's also very much a day of celebration. I get to celebrate who you are as a woman,
Mm.
and you get to celebrate me, and it doesn't matter where we've come from. And so, from that, really, it just led to doing programs. And I've just always had a heart for women, and honestly, I believe when I think back, Dr. Church, is I think back about my own mother, who also had a heart for women and was an entrepreneur and was doing phenomenal things. And I realized one day that I'm just really following in her footsteps and really honoring her, being able to speak into women, planning programs and doing the things that helps them move from one area of their life to the next area of their life, realizing that there's absolutely nothing that you cannot do when you're in the right community with the right group and you've got someone speaking into your life. And so everything I have done is really to move that woman, to empower them and move them from point A to point B. And the empowerment for me goes a little bit deeper because it's also about the transformation. Many times we can't get from point A to point B because we've got so many things that, we're stuck in some things. Let's say we're focused on the past and really not the future, or we've got our limited beliefs and we've got, things going on in our head that says, "Oh, we can't do this. Can we do this? Maybe not. Maybe we're not worthy. Maybe we're not all of these different things." And so my programs are designed to help you see yourself. I mean, really see yourself. As I like to say, as not only as God sees you, but as you see you. In other words, change in how you see yourself. You see yourself as God sees you, but then you also have to take on his lenses and see you. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
that's
and
good.
and
That's
and
good.
so it's to empower. Everything that I do is designed to take you, whether you're young or old, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working in corporate America, doesn't really matter. It's really taking you from point A to point B to where now you're soaring in the things that you choose to soar in.
What I like about that, you talked about several things, but one was transformation. There is a transformation that goes on in us at different stages of our lives as women, right? As mothers, as wives, caregivers. What Like I'm a caregiver, so whatever that stage is in our life, there's so much that goes on. So I love that about the transformation. But then also, what's so important is that you are helping women see who they are, where they are. That's powerful. So if we understand who we are, in the stage where we are, then we can get to the next level. But in the she universe, I hear someone out there saying, okay, Dr. Esther, Dr. Amystique, I hear what y'all are saying and I'm very excited. So I have this big bucket of dream lists. But how do I get there? What is the first step that I take in order to get where I need to be? What do you tell that sister out there in the she universe?
So I would tell them that, first of all, have you written what your dreams are? Have you actually written your dreams down? And once you begin to write your dreams down, then begin to set a plan in place and how you're going to get there. And so here's what happens. Many times we'll do a plan and we'll make it this big audacious, and we've got to do this. We've got to lose 50 pounds in 3 months, in 90 days. We've got to do all these things. And so when we begin to make our plans way too big, then it becomes discouraging, right? And we'll stop. And so whatever that dream that you have in She Universe, write that down and then look at the plan. What's the plan that you have to get there? But here's the other piece that's really important. If you're thinking your thoughts that you might not be able to get there, where are those thoughts coming from? You know,
Mm.
why do you think that? Because what happens is we've got the dreams, but we've got limited beliefs, or we've got the negative self-talk that's going on in our mind, right? That says, we can't do it, or it's going to cost too much, or I don't have time. And we've got all these reasons, but we've got these dreams. And so one of the things that you have to begin to do is say, why is it I think I can't do this? Where does this thought come from? And then begin to get rid of that thought. How do you begin to get rid of it? Well, you begin to get rid of it by making new neural pathways. By beginning to speak to yourself and beginning to see some things differently, thereby creating new neural pathways. So if I say, my goal isn't to lose weight, my goal is to be healthy, right? So that's my goal. And if my goal is to be healthy, then what is the plan? How do I become healthy? Does that make sense? And then I begin, and I may set like a 3 month goal that by this date, I am going to have this, right? And of course, looking at the language that you're using, because many times we speak of, what we're not going to do. So, for example, really simple example, um, we may say when we're thinking about our health, we may say, well, I don't want to gain weight. But that's not okay, that's a given. But then we have to think about what is it that we want, right? You don't want to gain weight. Okay, great. But then what is it that you want? And sometimes it takes us a minute to think about what is it I really want? Well, what I really want is to lose 10 pounds so I could be healthier. That's what I really want. And that's where it really begins is what is it that you really want and really diving into that. And it takes a minute sometimes because we're so used to dealing with the can'ts that we've got to say, this is the can, this is what I want. And that's how also we begin to create new neural pathways. When we do that, then we'll find that we're going to walk that path.
Mhm. I was sharing with someone probably about 6 months ago because they gave me a compliment. Because I've lost some weight, but it wasn't
And you
about.
look great.
Thank you. It wasn't about losing the weight, but it was about just what you said, Dr. Esther, about being healthy. I
Yeah.
needed to be a better me, a more healthier me for
Yeah.
myself. It
For you.
wasn't about anyone else. I mean, I had some health challenges that, went on because of, what I was going through and the weight and some other things, hereditary things. But in order to get to a place where I needed to be, I had to first change my mindset,
Hmm.
then change the way I looked at things and get my heart right.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did was I got a health coach. You
Yeah.
know, it's about investing in yourself. So when we think about that, am I worth it? I like when you said that, am I worth it? We have to make a decision, am I worth it? So it was worth for me to
Yeah.
say, you know what, I need to get a health coach because I need to look at health differently. I need to look at weight differently,
Yeah.
but I need to be transformed. So I can't do it on my husband used to tell me all the time, you can do it. You can do it on your own, because he's always into bodybuilding. So he just told me I could do it on my own. And I'm like, well, no, I can't.
Yeah.
No, I can't. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
But no, yes, I can. But I still needed that accountability partner. So I decided to invest in myself to get a health coach.
Yeah.
So that person that's out there that doesn't understand about investing in themselves. So
Mm.
that she, because we're speaking to those sisters out there in She Universe, sisters helping to empower. That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
What does it mean to invest in yourself?
Yeah.
And where do you start? And when I say invest in yourself, I don't mean just a pair of shoes or a handbag, because that's fine too, because I'm gonna buy it, right? If I want it, I
If I
believe
want it,
in.
I buy it. Yeah.
Right, yeah, I believe in eat the cookie, buy the shoe, right? So
Yeah.
I'm that girl. But it's so much more than that. So for our sisters out there in She Universe, how do we get to that first step and investing in ourselves and making that transition to start doing that, that you owe that to yourself to invest in yourself. And then I want you to talk about the possibility journey, because that transformed my life. The
Yeah.
possibility transformed my life, my thinking as far as knowing that I'm worth it,
Mhm.
getting rid of some old baggage,
Yeah.
um, helping me decide on some businesses I wanted to own and invest in. Um, and it also took me financially to a different place, because I was able to take my change my thinking of how I looked at things. And so I always tell people my life is so blessed.
Yeah.
And it is without even going into to the situations. But it feels good to know that whatever I want to do, I can do.
Yeah.
Whatever I want, I can buy. Whatever I desire, I can have. Whatever I need, it's a done deal, right?
Yeah.
So it's good to be in that space. But again, for those sisters that are just starting out, for me, you know what? I have it here. Hopefully, sisters, let me show you this booklet. For those in the She universe, I don't know if they could see it. I might have to come off my,
Your screen.
yeah, I might have to come off my settings so they can see it. I love my little screens, but sometimes I guess I need to come off.
Oh yeah, they could see it now. Yeah.
Yeah, so sisters out there, this is my possibility journal. And what is it? Has it been about 3 years now?
It's been about 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years. I took this course with Dr. Esther, the possibility journey, and it sort of changed my life. And in my possibility journey, of course, I put a picture of myself. I talked about what inspired me, my focus, courage, make it happen, think big, believe, dream, goals, success, hustle, hustle, by Dr. Amystique Church. So and I surround myself with butterflies because I believe in the whole manifestation of their transformation, right? And so
Yes.
I looked at myself when I started as that caterpillar, but at the end of that journey was the butterfly that was inside of me that I needed to become. So
Yeah.
yeah, talk to that sister out there in She Universe. What does it mean to invest in yourself? What are some of the courses and programs that you may even have, and seminars and workshop that, what I need to be involved in this?
Yeah.
I need to take that first step.
Yeah.
And yeah, go.
So, first, I'd like to say that as women, we tend to invest in everything else except for ourselves, right? So, we'll invest in our children, in our homes, in our spouses or significant others. We'll just keep investing in everything else, but we will not invest in ourselves. Nothing wrong with investing in anything else, but we must invest in ourselves because if we don't serve ourselves, if we don't meet our own needs, how can we ever really meet the needs of others? What happens is when we don't invest in ourselves and we're investing in everybody else, then we become, after a while, disgruntled. We're not taken care of very well. We become unhappy, or we're just not really happy with our lives overall. So it is very important for you to invest in yourself. As a matter of fact, I like to say that you are your most important investment. You are your most important investment. Serve you first, and then you're able to serve others better. And so, with the investment, we talk about self care and so many different things, and it's more than just getting your nails done
Mhm.
and all those. We're talking about investing in you, investing in your growth, investing in your true self-care, investing in your thought, what you do, investing in your heart. That's the investment. And so some of the things that I do again with the possibility journey, which really was allowing you to see your limitless possibilities. Right. And we began with the whole mindset shift. And honestly, now I began to develop and in the process, really, I just this past week, I spoke at it at a business conference that there must be an alignment between your mindset and your heart set. There must be an
Mm.
alignment. That if your mind is saying yes and your heart is saying no, then there's inner conflict. right? So there must be an alignment, and that's something else that will be coming up very soon. That how do you really get into that alignment? But the possibility journey really heads you towards that. You begin with shifting your perspective. You begin to unpack your thoughts, your unresolved story, those things that held you back. And then you begin to set a plan with what exactly you want to do. So this is it, Dr. Amnesty. I'm a firm believer that our business success, our net worth will only go as high as our self-worth, right? And so we have to see ourselves worthy of everything that we want. The sky is the limit and beyond. And we have to see ourselves worthy of that so we can begin to pursue it. When we begin to see ourselves worthy, then there's nothing that will change. We'll go ahead and we'll pursue all of that. So the possibility journey really works with that. And while you have made strides, we've had people that have started their nonprofit after leaving the program, wrote their books, several different things, because it is really a mindset shift. When you can change your mind and you change your heart, you could totally just change your life. When you can change your thoughts, your entire life can really shift. So there's that. And of course, there's my retreats that I absolutely 100% love. I always have to
Yes.
mention my retreats because that's where I really began to see the transformation in me that I actually needed. I tell a story about, how my business was doing great. My marriage was fine. My relationships were good, but yet there was something missing in my life and I wasn't sure. And somebody may say, well, that's God, it's Jesus that's missing. No, it was something else because I had him too. But there was just there was something, just I didn't know what it was. And so I went away to a retreat, and that retreat was so transformational for me. And I went for several reasons, but one of the reasons that I discovered was that God, number one, wanted me to just really go deep in some things. And Esther, just let's unpack some of these stories that you've been telling yourself for years.
Mm.
Stories, that we live with, that oftentimes we don't even realize that we're living with them. Right. So let's unpack some of those stories. And then the other piece, I knew I was there because then he said to me, now you need to bring it to other women. You need to bring it. And now it's extended to men. You need to bring it. Why? Because transformation becomes from the inside out. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's continual, right? And people say, well, that's your mind. But then the other piece says, out of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? Or out of the heart flows the issues of life. And what we don't realize is that the mind and the heart are really the same thing. If you look at neuroscience, they're basically the same things. A translation says that the heart is the mind in Hebrew translation, and there's only 13 inches. And so there's definitely a connection, right? And so when you can begin to see that, then transformation can take place. And so my retreats are there, Dare to Live Fully, which is another program. And that's basically, again, can you live your life fully? Dare to do it. Dare to get up and show up and speak up and stand up and stay prayed up and say rah for you first, and then you could do it for everybody else. And so really, those are just some of the programs in a very simplistic way. Did I say that right? Simple way.
Mhm.
Simple way.
Mhm. So if for those that are out there in our She universe, and we do have a great following, I'm so happy about that. Where can they find information about your programs, about your retreat, anything that you have coming up in 2025 and 2026? Where
So
should they go?
they can go to my website, which
Mhm.
is fddwomen.com, and you could go there. My retreat information is on there. It's under events. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, and I also have that Life by Design community, which, by the way, is a part of Festa Della Donna, but now this is really creating that whole Life by Design in the 7 pillars of your life that I believe in. And so all of that is right there where you can grab it. And what's really good, our next retreat is coming up in May in Cartagena, Colombia. And my retreats, Amystique, you've gone, my retreats are very exclusive, and this one is even more exclusive. Why? Because we're really honing in We're really going to hone in on several areas of transformation, right? That then again, if you're that entrepreneur, leads into your business. If you're not that entrepreneur, it's okay because it leads into relationship. It leads into everything that you think you may need. And so we have a special for the month of May, Women's History Month. Although it ends today, I think we've extended it just this afternoon to April 4th. But we only have, I believe, 4 slots left. And so there is a significant discount. If you go on there, you'll see all of the information. But if not the retreat, just check me out and just come on there and join the Life by Design community. We've got a lot of things that we do. And I just want women to invest in themselves. First, not just monetary, but invest your time in you,
Yes.
right? It's not all about the money. Invest time in you. Invest time in feeding your soul. Invest time in surrounding yourself in a community that supports you and promotes you and says, girl, you got this. You can do this, right? Invest in that. And then you'll find that when you're in these types of communities, you will begin to grow. And then you'll begin to see the importance of investing yourself in other things. And then the monetary will come because I see it. I made a decision not to stay stuck, or I made a decision not to be mediocre, right? Because many times we think, well, I don't have the money, but we really do, because we have the
Mhm.
money to do the things that we really want to do. We do. We have the money to do the things we really want to do. I know I do. If there's something I really wanted, I'm like you, Doctor. I'm like you. If I really want it, guess what?
I'm
Guess
gonna get it.
I'm gonna get it,
Yeah.
and there is no stopping me to get it.
Right.
We invest in the things, and you can say, well, I don't have the money for this or for that. But I bet if you sit down and you really begin to look at some things, right? And you can make a decision what's most important to you. Not what's important to you, but what's most important to you. I have a lot of important things. There's a lot of things that's important to me. But what's most important to me is my relationship, my inner world. That's most important. And that includes God, that includes my relationship, that includes everything. Everything. That's most important. And so, with that being said, that means that what it takes for me to invest in me so I could be well, that's what I do. Because if I'm well, then you're well, my family's well, everything around me is well, my business is well.
Yeah, because I always say it's about being whole.
Yeah,
So, and that
it
means
is.
emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. It's about being a whole person.
Yeah,
And I like what you said about what's most important to you. And we have to take time to realize what should be most important to us is ourselves, right? And
exactly.
because if I'm well, then I'm a better wife, I'm a better mother, I'm a
Mhm.
better nana, I have a grandson that calls, he turns 18 on Wednesday, but I'm a better GMA.
Yeah.
I'm all of these, but it makes me better if I learn to invest in myself. That
Yeah.
it's not about the handbag, it's not about the cookie, it's not about the shoes, but actually taking time emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, making sure that I'm better.
Yeah.
The other day I recently did a TikTok because I just started going on TikTok. I'm slow, so people been into TikTok. I'm just now getting into TikTok. But I just recently did one and I was talking about what it means. Your today decision, what you do today will affect your tomorrow. And it's
Mm,
not just like tomorrow because tomorrow's Tuesday. No, your tomorrow, a year from now, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So
yeah.
when I learned to do that, exactly what you're saying, and for those out there in the she universe, you heard me say it in the very beginning, Dr. Esther's the shero for me, right? And so I look at her and I listen to her. And it's so important that we can, as women, we connect ourselves with other women that will help us to grow. It doesn't mean that you have to do everything that they're doing, but
No.
you need to take and look at what you need to do in order for you, in order to influence and impact and affect the world
Yeah.
that you're in. And
Yeah.
so I started talking about time. Time is so important, and unfortunately for me, it was a health scare that made me realize how important time is.
Yeah.
And so it happened, but I realized how important time is. I have these things that I want to accomplish that I know that I need to accomplish, and I'm fortunate. I know what my purpose is. Not everyone does, but I'm fortunate
Yeah.
enough that, you know what, I know what my purpose is. And
Mhm.
so let me get on, plan my work my plan, get on this path to impact those that I need to for his kingdom agenda. You
Yeah.
know, because we're both women of faith, so strong women of faith.
Strong women
It's
of faith.
it's about his kingdom agenda. So I don't want to miss out on that opportunity to fulfill that potential. And
Yeah.
I truly believe that once we learn how to do that, Dr. Esther, invest in ourselves. You
Yeah.
know,
Have
I
to.
attended one of your, I think it was a Zoom session. I attended one of your Zoom sessions, and you were talking about, writing things down and putting things together, and that's what helped me write my book. I'm always been a person that I journal, I put thoughts down. I love to write and I love to read. I'm a real big nerd, so I read all the time. You'll always I always have a book. I love to read, but
Me
it
too.
helped
Me
me
too.
it helped me write my book, Transformation Pathway to Purpose. And
Yes.
so to be
Great
able
book,
to
by the way. Great book.
Thank you. So to
Great
be
book.
able to do that, putting those thoughts together, but actually, packaging principles that we can apply to our lives, I think that's so important. So again, sisters out there, I hope I know the ones in my She universe, you're taking notes and you're applying those things that you have heard tonight with Dr. Esther into your lives to make that impact and influence. So Dr. Esther, again, I know there's someone out there saying, I've heard what's being said. I know that I need to invest in myself. I don't really know where to begin, but tomorrow's coming. And so I need to begin tomorrow, you know. What else can you tell that sister out there? Because I like to follow up them. So when we have segments, I like to, send out messaging and say, okay, who's begun this book, or who began, this investment? You mentioned businesses, nonprofits, and the possibility journey helped me do all of that. So I, begin to add on to my businesses and have another nonprofit. And so how does she, because we're talking about those she's out there, how does she begin to do that? I know speaking to ourselves, but how does she begin to do that?
She begins by making a decision with what she wants to do.
Mhm.
It's just one decision, and one decision can change your entire life. And so make a decision as to what she wants to do. What is it that you want to do? And say it out loud. I want to do this. And then when you make that decision, say it over so you can convince yourself, this is what I want to do. And then you begin to research how to pursue it. I like to say, find someone that's did it before. Don't talk, don't, when you decide I'm going to go to the moon, I'm going to fly to the moon. So you're not going to hang around people who haven't been to the moon, don't know where the moon is. What is a moon? So you're going to want our surroundings, who we're around is so important to our success. And so when you decide this is what you want to do, you make a decision. This is what you want to do. And then you surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do. You put yourself in that community. You get a coach, a mentor, a motivator, someone that can help you get there, that can speak into your life and say, okay, let's put this plan together, that can help you unpack and get specifics about what it is exactly that you want to do. Because you can say, I want to fly to the moon. This is what I know, but I don't know how to get there. Okay, great. Now let's find someone that can help you and teach you how to get there, how to build that rocket. What does it need? And see what happens, Dr. Amystique, is many times we say, okay, this is what we want, and then we sit. It's not gonna, it's just, we got to do the work.
We're waiting for it to fall up the sky, Dr. Esther. It's got to
That's
fall.
just, it's just not gonna happen, right? We got to do the work and realize here's the other thing I want to say too. I didn't mention it. Realize that whatever it is that you want to do, you were created for more. The first thing I wrote was you were created for more. And you could go on my website, you could get it, and it's free. You were created for more, you know? And so realize that. And so get with someone that can help you get to that more. And so that's it. It's not going to fall out of the sky. So what has to happen, I believe, is that you've got to be in action.
That's good. Being in
Yeah.
action.
You
Be
have to
in
be.
action.
Action is the antidote for despair. Be in action. Do it. You know how Nike says just do it? It's true.
Do it.
Just do it. If not, you're always going to be sitting there. And so make that one decision and say, I want to fly to the moon. You know, I heard someone say, well, how did they become a millionaire? And I told someone because they were saying, oh, this person is millionaire. And I looked at them and I said, do you realize that you can be a millionaire as well?
Yes. Yes.
I said, you just have to do the work. Is first of all, do you want to be a millionaire?
Mhm.
So don't look over there and say, oh, the millionaires and don't hate on them because they did the work. Right? I said, but if you want to be a millionaire, you can, but realize that you have to do the work for it.
Work.
You just can't sit. It's not going to come to you. It's not
Mhm.
going to fall out of the sky. You have to do, even if you go buy a lottery ticket, that's still work. You got to get up, you got to go to the
Yes.
car, drive, go to the place. You understand what I mean? There's work involved to get what you want. So anything that you want, you have to do the work. That's what I would suggest. Do the work.
Do
Make
the
the
work.
decision. Make the decision and do the work to get there.
Yeah. So do the work and be in action.
In
So
action.
sisters out there in She Universe, remember sisters helping to empower. We're going to end with that. I love it. Do the work and be in action. So again, my sisters out there, please go to her website. Please follow her on social media, but you will not regret it. I'm not just saying this because Dr. Esther is on the phone with us, but listen, you will not regret it. She is a person that actually walks out what she lives, and she's a great role model, great and welcoming. She's welcoming. Not everyone that reaches a certain level is welcoming or is an influencer is welcoming. So Dr. Esther, I appreciate that about you is that you are
Thank
welcoming, you're accessible, um you accept people where you are. I'm very quirky, she knows that, so it's something I go to an event and it's almost over, I'm out that door. So that's just me. That's just me. But I have a quirky personality. But what I love about you is that you accept people for who they are. You don't force. I've never heard you say, Amystique, you need to change. You don't need to be that way, but people do. They want little mini them. They want people to mimic them or look like them or act like them but I really truly believe that you accept women, accept us as who we are, and learn to relate to us where we're at. And you'll know who you can't relate to,
Yeah,
but
you
for
always will.
yeah, but you accept us for who we are. And I'm a person that I truly believe, and I know it's a cliche, that we are stronger, better together. We are stronger, better together as women. Because
We
for
are.
once,
We are.
I don't want to be around a whole bunch of women that act like me or talk like me or think like me. I need to be around those that are different
Yeah.
because with those differences help you grow,
Helps you.
and the ones that you kind of maybe repel off may be the one that you actually need something from, to grow, to get to another level, or to even transform something within yourself. But
Yes.
if we learn to do that, so I really appreciate you for you being you.
Thank you so.
Don't you change, don't you ever ever change, don't change.
I
um
won't. I
and
can't.
and thank you for loving us. Thank you for loving the sisters out there. Thank you for loving us. And I truly, again, appreciate your time. Again, sisters, be in action and do the work. So we're going to leave with that. So thank you, my sisters in the She universe. Be empowered. Love you all.